Good day, everyone. This is Technology for Teaching and Learning 1. My name is EDMUND MARAVILLA, the ICT coordinator for the College of Teacher Education. Let's get started. So this is the course description and course intended learning outcomes for this specific subject. It's been edited to include certain competencies from the PPSC or Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, and they're highlighted in different colors, indicating those specific competencies. Alright? So this course deals with the purposive learning of content knowledge and its application in designing, developing, utilizing, and evaluating teaching and learning resources. It covers the knowledge and skills in developing training materials such as print, mock-up or simulators, and models. It will also provide the student experiences and the positive use of ICT to facilitate the teaching and learning process, and in developing learning materials for e-learning, taking into consideration learners' gender, needs, strengths, interests, and experiences. Also part of this course is the competency in maintaining training facilities, which includes developing and implementing a housekeeping program and maintaining training systems, equipment, tools, materials, and documents. The prospective teacher or trainer will be exposed to other methods and strategies related to different modes of training delivery responsive to community contexts, such as institution-based, community-based training, especially for livelihood, as well as enterprise-based learning. This course seeks to instill reflective knowledge in the students, such that they are able to display ethical decision-making, as well as behaviors that uphold the dignity of teaching as a profession in the face of scientific and technological advancement. At the end of the course, the learners are expected to demonstrate content knowledge and its application within or across curriculum teaching areas, to show skills in the positive use of ICT to facilitate the teaching and learning process, to demonstrate knowledge and understanding of differentiated teaching to suit the learner's gender, needs, strengths, interests, and experiences, to demonstrate an understanding of knowledge of learning environments that are responsive to community contexts, and to demonstrate behaviors that uphold the dignity of teaching as a profession by exhibiting qualities such as caring attitude, respect, and integrity. So, these intended learning outcomes are common throughout all topics within the syllabus that I have designed. For teachers following the ask format, these are the specific outcomes. For the affective domain, they are to develop personal views regarding content knowledge and application. For the psychomotor domain, they are to design solutions in teaching content knowledge and its application, taking into consideration learners' gender, needs, strengths, interests, and experiences in a manner that is responsive to community context and that upholds the dignity of teaching as a profession. And in the knowledge domain, to detail relevant information regarding content knowledge and its application via presentation with the positive use of ICT to facilitate the teaching and learning process. Okay. As always with all topics and all subjects under the NORCIV system, the topics that we're going to be covered before the actual subject matter include the vision mission of the university, as well as class rules specific to the teacher, in this case mine, and the grading system, which is standardized in the department, as well as communication channels between the teacher and the student, which will be agreed upon as to what would be most convenient for both parties. Okay, so we're going to be diving in to the actual subject matter now. Firstly, of course, we're going to be starting with the introduction to instructional technology. And under these topics will be included its definition, its history, and the development according to ages, and of course, the different domains of instructional technology. After that, we'll be dealing with Dale's cone of experience, which is a visual model that is composed of 11 stages of starting from concrete experiences at the bottom of the cone. Then it becomes more and more abstract as it reaches the peak of the cone. Also, according to Dale, the arrangement in the cone is not based on its difficulty, but rather based on abstraction and on the number of senses involved. The experiences in each stages can be mixed and are interrelated that fosters more meaningful learning. Understanding the concepts behind Dale's cone of experience is essential for one to understand the different approaches and the different applications that are necessary when employing instructional materials, which is the whole point of this subject. Next, we have revised Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, so this is carrying over from Bloom's taxonomy, which was established several years prior. In the revised taxonomy, evaluation is no longer the highest level of the pyramid. A new category, creating, is at the top. Another significant change is that category names are no longer nouns, but verbs. So objectives are meant to describe learners' thinking processes rather than behaviors. In increasing order of difficulty, these are the verbs in the taxonomy. Remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Next, we have educational learning theories. There are several learning theories that are fundamental, and understanding them is paramount in order to pick and align the best instructional materials in terms of type when incorporating them into your instruction. So first we have the cognitive learning theory, which looks at the way people think. Mental processes are an important part in understanding how we learn. And the cognitive theory understands that learners can be influenced by both internal and external statements. Next, we have behaviorism. This is a learning theory in which the idea that how a student behaves is based on their interaction with their environment. It suggests that behaviors are influenced and learned from external forces rather than internal forces. Constructivism learning theory is based on the idea that students actually create their own learning based on their previous experiences. Students take what they're being taught and add it to their previous knowledge and experiences, creating a reality that's unique to them. This learning theory focuses on learning as an active process, which is personal and individual for each student. Next up, humanism, which is very closely related to constructivism. Humanism directly focuses on the idea of self-actualization. Everyone functions under a hierarchy of needs. Self-actualization is at the top of the hierarchy of needs. It's the brief moments where a person feels all of their needs are met and they're the best possible versions of themselves. Everyone is striving for this, and learning environments can either move toward meeting needs or away from meeting needs. Connectivism is one of the newest educational learning theories. It focuses on the idea that people learn and grow when they form connections. This can be connections with each other or connections with their roles and obligations in their lives. Hobbies, goals, and people can all be connections that influence learning. Transformative learning theory is a great approach for adult education and young adult learning. Also referred as transformation learning, transformative learning theory focuses on the idea that learners can adjust their thinking based on new information. Another one here, using social learning theory can also be a valuable tool for dealing with difficult students who like to disrupt the classroom and cause trouble. This theory focuses on the concept of children learning from observing others by acting on or not acting on what they see exhibited by their classmates. For example, they may see a classmate politely asking for a treat and getting one, or maybe they hear another classmate talking about something new they have learned, which teaches the student something new, even if it's not something they try themselves. Experiential learning theory focuses on learning by doing. Using this theory, students are encouraged to learn through experiences that can help them retain information and recall facts. So, teaching and learning frameworks for integrating technology into the curriculum. Now, teaching and learning frameworks are research-informed models for course design that helps instructors align learning goals with classroom activities, create motivating and inclusive environments, and integrate assessment into learning. So there's quite a lot of these, okay? And somehow they are variations of each other, or they build upon specific processes that are already established in the academe. There are slight variations. Sometimes the concept is also brought more obviously because they're developed with modern technology in mind, and there are quite a lot of them. We have the backward design, integrated course design, 5Es, accelerated learning cycles, universal design for learning, Gagne's 9 events of instruction, ADDIE, which is one of the most popular or common, or which I could say is the standard for 21st century learning. This is the model by which all others are derived from, usually, because you can see the pattern, usually. We also have the SAM model, the Dick and Carey instructional design model, the Sure model, Kemp design model, the Kirkpatrick model, situated learning theory, anchored instruction model, cognitive apprenticeship, andragogy by Malcolm Knowles, Jean Piaget's theory and stages of creative development, social cultural learning theory, as well as the zone of proximal development and scaffolding by Lev Vygotsky. These are the more modern ones in terms of integrating technology into the instructional design. And these are the TPAC, RAT, SAM-R, PIC-RAT, Technology Integration Matrix, a rapid prototyping model, which is based on software development, and of course the PDPI model, which is one of the models employed in university in British Columbia. Now, after discussing those theories and frameworks, we can now focus on the non-digital instructional materials. And these teaching aids include blackboards, textbooks, charts, pictures, posters, maps, atlases, globes, flashcards, flip cards, worksheets, science lab apparatus and materials, models, crossword puzzles, quizzes, storytelling, dramatization, one-act plays, dictionaries, encyclopedias, reference books, learning toys, and the abacus. So these are your typical paper as well as other craft and art material products. After discussing this, then we're jumping on to the principles of design. The 12 main principles include contrast, balance, emphasis, proportion, hierarchy, repetition, rhythm, pattern, white space, movement, variety, and unity. Now, learning the principles of design is something that I have incorporated into teaching my students whenever we're done dealing with the specific types and theory behind instructional materials, because not all teachers are properly equipped in maximizing the efficiency of their instructional materials. So it's both a science and an art, and this is actually one of the more difficult practical applications that students under me will have to undergo. And parts of this will be checked in the project outputs and capstone projects in the future. Carrying on, one of the more common topics that we will be discussing include the color theory, which is the science and art of using color. It explains how humans perceive color and the visual effects of how colors mix, match, or contrast with each other. Color theory also involves the messages colors communicate and the methods used to replicate color. So it's not just about making your design as colorful or as, what do you call this, as pretty as possible. There's a certain process involved and a lot of thinking required in order to rationalize how your materials are designed. And the last lesson to be discussed for this is typography. This is how words look in digital or printed media, how words are placed and arranged in relation to the rest of the text and any other content elements, such as the user interface, color, images, or video. Choice and placement of text isn't just to create a nice looking, usable, readable style. So this plays along with the principles of design and color theory as well. And as stated, it's applicable in digital or printed media. And my hope is that as students learn these in my subject, it carries over to all other aspects of their lives, not just in the educational setting. After this, it's usually midterms time. So this is where we're going to have an objective type exam. And since we've discussed non-digital instructional materials, your main project for midterms usually involves one or two major outputs for that. Usually we agree upon what kind of output we're going to make depending on the size of your group generally. Okay, after that, up next is classroom health and safety. Okay, so health and safety in a school is about taking a sensible and proportionate approach to ensure the premises provide a healthy and safe place for all who use them, including the school workforce, visitors, and pupils. So as a teacher, your classroom and your laboratories, this is where you're going to be researching as well as setting up your own specific rules in managing your classroom or lab. In the current pandemic period, of course, this will still include the digital classroom. In line with this, students are to be taught risk assessment. This is the process to identify potential hazards and analyze what could happen if a hazard occurs. Now we're going to the digital part of our subject, which is the introduction to ICT. Under this topic, we're going to be diving into the definition of ICT, its history, and of course, emerging trends, which has been definitely accelerated due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Then afterwards, we're going to be dealing with digital media literacy. This is the ability to use critical thinking and rhetorical reasoning to find, evaluate, synthesize, and create information in online environments. This is very critical as students are bombarded with too much information nowadays, and sometimes they are not yet equipped to fully discern and filter which information to believe and trust in the internet. Afterwards is ethics. This is based on well-founded standards of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do, usually in terms of rights, obligations, benefits to society, fairness, or specific virtues. Mainly, this will also be tackling specific teacher ethics and responsibilities in terms of copyrights, proper citations, and other themes related to academia, which should carry over to their practice as students as well. Afterwards, this is the intro to the digital skills necessary when making materials for e-learning, which include lessons on how to use the Office suite. So, word processors, slideshow presentations, and of course, spreadsheet software. And then they're also going to be taught desktop publishing, or how to lay out and design specific media from print. And of course, photography. We're going to be dealing with basic principles and techniques when dealing with photography so that teachers will be well equipped to make their own instructional materials, making use of their photography skills. And lastly, image editing, because not all photographs could be maximized and of course could be improved upon via post processing. Okay, so after all those topics have been discussed during the semester, we will have the finals, which is an objective type exam, a capstone project, which could be one of several things depending on the size of your group or what has been agreed upon between the students and the teacher. And lastly, this is usually a big requirement and a tradition. In my subject, we have a large exhibit, or otherwise known as an expo, which sadly has not been possible due to the pandemic. But thinking about it optimistically, we might be able to set something up um, online, as is usually the case. So, this has been Luis Edmund Maravilla. Thank you for listening. If you have questions and answers, yeah, we can do that now. All right.